Okay. Oh, ini sanga wa father pansha wa kumindoro. Okay. Atina wangu. Good morning. Volume Ilshan. Those that have tuned in, how is the volume? Are you able to pick my voice? Precious, are you able to pick my voice? Volume is okay? Okay, thank you. Bakim, you have a muleka bomfiaka.
But Padua,
Akaka pick up.
Padua canon.
Manisha? Achinafa kuka stand up kuweka phone because kana ambo kulanda nakula moneka so. Moni akala bombe. Apa speaker te phone. Akachita shan. Tu vidi shan. Oh. Moni. Tefanga ndelanda. So Wi-Fi is okay? Yeah. This is okay.
You're okay with internet now?
They won't share kwa week.
Oh, okay.
Alright. I can't pay internet team over. Why innocent? Nothing at all. I got to stream, then we lose volume.
Maybe come straight.
It's okay. Wachavala, good morning. Wamunjila watching from Sesheke, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Likando. Yeah, we should be starting very soon.
Yeah, so the first is this one. Most of them, right? No, I'm sure recording.
That's my what?
Yeah, that's my thing.
Okay, we are starting.
You're able to pick my voice?
I can start? Good morning, dear friends of Radio Icengelo. Welcome to the face-to-face
With the coming program, the program which discusses issues of good governance and media freedom.
I'm your host, Akim Gara. And my guest
this morning. I have Christopher Kang'ombe, Kakinsa Constituency Member of Parliament. Now we are looking at how effective has the opposition been in holding the government accountable. The opposition plays a vital role in ensuring the government remains
Accountable to the
people. This involves scrutinizing policies, questioning government decision, and advocating for alternative solutions. Effective opposition can prevent abuse of power, promote transparency, and foster a culture of accountability. The UPND has just worked 4 years in office. They are just learning 1 year before we have a general elections. So today we are looking at how effective has the opposition been government accountable. Mr. Christopher Kang'ombe will share his insights on the opposition's effectiveness in holding the government accountable. Christopher Kang'ombe, welcome to the program this morning.
Good morning, Akim. I'm delighted to be here at Radio Icengelo. It's been quite a while since I had this rare opportunity to interact with the people that are tuned in across all the various districts on the Copper Belt. I'm okay. I'm delighted. Mwebale kutika kumulaba sawa Radio Icengelo. Nami sengela mushkuwelelo. Good morning and thank you very much.
Before we go to national issues, I would want to find out, how is, your constituents and what are you doing in your constituents?
Well, first of all, you are aware that Kamfinsa has got a lot of farm blocks. Most of our area is where our farmers are. Katoka Mema Farm Block, Misaka Farm Block, Kulaku Misaka, Mwekera Farm Block 1, 2, and 3. So one of the things that we've been able to do in the last couple of years is to focus on providing connectivity. Ama bridges where people can be transporting their farm inputs ileshita ya kulima nga Africa twabapangila kwa bridge so that ishita ya kulima nga Africa nabakwata inshilomwa kupita. So we've done a bridge that is connecting Kamfinsa to Katoka Mema using the Constituency Development Fund. Na tupanga na bumbi ubulalo kuruma ya Kamfinsa prison ngamlea bukila kula kunche ndio kule itwa kumisaka B5 na tubapangila ko bulalo ichwechilela ngokutila ayama insa elo yale isa abantu bakachika bangukila kukwatu kwa bukila ishita ya kulimanga ya Africa. So in terms of supporting our farmers in the constituency. I think most connectivity places have been dealt with. We've also been able to deal with connectivity between Mulenga compound, Bisabukila Kundeke, you know where St. Augustine Catholic Church is. Twale kwata abantu kuilishanyo kutila ba MP na tulea bukufuma kwa Mulenga chile tushupo kwa buko kwisa Kundeke ku St. Augustine. So we've done another bridge to connect the two places. But the biggest challenge in the constituency, obviously, is the issue of water. We had a project which Nkana Water was doing across the city, Mindolo, Buchi, Ndeke, Usakile. But for our area there, Ndeke Kukamfinsa constituency, we still have a challenge of water. So what have we done to try and provide a short-term solution? Because what I'm discussing, I was hoping we could have a long-term solution. Ask government to provide money to Nkana Water to provide capital funding. So what we've done at a local level is we've decided, using the Constituency Development Fund, to do what are called water schemes. Now, water schemes are a smaller version of a solution. If you go to Zamtan, avekala mushiku Zamtan, natu bapangila kochi water scheme, ichikwetia matanki yatatu, and the water is able to flow into the community. But the water is not enough because the sizes of the tanks are small. So we have how many water schemes? We are targeting to do about 7 or 8. So far, we've done one in Zamtan. We're doing another one in Zamtan. We have also started doing one water scheme in Mulenga compound. We are also doing another water scheme in Ndeke Changa. We'll do another one. So the target is to try and just minimize the challenges of water in our community. My appeal once again is to central government. If we sort out water challenges in Kamfinsa constituency, Mukumona Kwandi, that is the biggest problem we've had. In terms of Vifimbi, Fiakuspawila, classroom blocks, 1x3 classroom block, Pawesli Nyerenda, we've been able to do a 1x3 classroom block. We've also been able to do another classroom block across Mwansa Farm block. So in terms of utilization of CDF, I think we've been able to do it. But the biggest problem has been, like many other constituencies, most people are not repaying Shiren Kongole Baba Pelesha empowerment funds, the loans, and I'm sure we'll get into those details later. But basically, we've utilized what everyone has been able to utilize. The biggest problem, number one, with CDF has been ukucherwa kwa kufunye ndalama kubuteko ngashilesa kubwangu na ifo chikala tuwangu kilo kupwishe milimo. Right now we want to do a bridge between Ndeke kwa bukila kuchamboli kupita Mulenga pali apa pito so that people have access into Chamboli. We've not been able to implement that approved project because we don't yet have the money from central government.
What is the challenge when, that's very much interesting when you mention about,
CDF.
I mean, the money not coming on time. But on the other hand, we have heard government, complaining that you are failing to utilize this fund.
Well, utilization is one thing, disbursement is another thing. So a way a CDF project is structured, the constituency I represent, just like all the other 4 in Kitwe has got 5 constituencies. Now, if you have 5 constituencies and you have very few engineers assigned to preparation of projects, the MP doesn't prepare a project proposal. A project is prepared by our officers from the local authority. So the first challenge that we've had is that we have 5 constituencies and 1 local authority because there are no engineers in the constituency. There are no quantity surveyors in the constituency. What you have are basically engineers, quantity surveyors, socio-economic planners at Kitwe City Council. So ngabapwisho kubomba imilimo kuchimwemwe I remember in 2022 our complaint was, why should we wait for a team of technocrats lilabapwisha emilimo kuchimwemwe kupekanya ama bill of quantity elo babutikira munkana ngabapwisha munkana bakangombe na bena kukamfinsa balelo kuchita tupekanishe kama bill of quantity. So they decided to employ a few more technical experts, but they are still not enough to be able to do project proposals. So problem number 1 by Hakim, and for the benefit of Abale Kutika Kumulabasa, the first problem is we don't have adequate technical personnel to prepare the bill of quantity. Now, second problem, Elio Tualemba project proposal kubuteko kutila, the bridge connecting Ndeke and Mulenga to Chamboli. Here's the proposal. We need so much money. The problem has been Olupia Lula Chelo, CDF Yam 2022, ile kumama projects, Yashtem 2023.
Okay, so
in short,
I would want to make that straight.
Okay, so to where is the delayed disbursement?
Yeah.
The first initial delayed disbursement was that the money for 2022 came in 2023. That was the initial from central government, because CDF Makubuteko Kulusaka. That was the first problem. It was just a challenge. No Buteko win. Disbursement the procedure has changed. Takwa abafiliati nga mwachita approve ama project sayengi elo bamitumire ndalama chambeni kuchita spend nga mwapwisha imo project elo mwale mbakalata kubuteko mwalando kutila twapwisha okupanga katoka mema bridge. Okay, tupele niko nombolo pia lo next project. So already there the entire list kale bachita approve, but futi basala ndaba buteko kutila tatwakula mipele mpia pamukumo twakula mipela chila project. So as I'm seated here right now, I've got projects for 2025 that are not yet funded under the Constituency Development Fund for Kamfinsa. What we are mostly funding now is that aya 2024 yenginoshta na aya puwa kuba funded. This is when we are now saying, okay, ito apuisha tala tupeni kolupia na lumbi. So my proposal would be, if CDF is approved by Parliament and we are parliamentarians, number one, it simply means that it's money that is allocated. Number two, if government is saying nga mwapeka nya BOQ mwafana contractor ero tuwamipele ndalama, Public Finance Management Act ifunde lyaku parliament lyala ndokutila mwichita advertise project kwa bloku peka nyolo pia. That's what the law says. So why are we advertising these CDF projects when the disbursements have to be done afterwards? So kulombandelo makubuteko kutila twafweni kufunyolu pia kulusaka into our constituency accounts in good time, so that constituencies, it then becomes easy for government to be able to say, this constituency you are not utilizing funding, this constituency you are not utilizing funding. It's because government may not have enough money. Ichishinka, so nabaleta ko procedure ya kutila nga mwapwisha imwelo mwale makalata nishto akula lembela makalata when you've already approved in the national budget money for Kamfinsa constituency.
Okay, you mentioned the issue of water challenges in Kamfinsa constituency.
Yes,
but you haven't talked about the famous mini hospital.
Yeah, so we have a health facility in Ndeke village called Ndeke village mini hospital, which we decided as a constituency that since the central government, like Ministry of Health, let us start funding it from the CDF. So on the right side of the health facility, Mwalasanga maternity wing, that maternity wing was not complete. We had to give them 800,000 kwacha to pay off the contractor for putting the towers. So what we've not been able to do now is to finish the next project, because the Timbomfia maternity wing, if you don't have a theater, if you don't have these other facilities. So we allocated another 1 million from CDF to say that we gave them the 1 million. We gave them an extra 100,000 and an extra 500,000. So panoponjikele 2022 we gave them 800. 2023 into 2024, we allocated 500,000 kwacha plus 1 million. So total 800, 1,500,000. Nombapa beleleo wafya, ilia contract, yawa under Ministry of Health, wa contract abala ndokutila, imitengo sho tuwa vikile mu contract, nesho mulefu atu mutuli pile palino, ishte mitengo na shichinja. For the last 4-5 months, we've been arguing at Ministry of Justice, because that is where the contract is. Okay. It's not a local contract. It's not a CDF contract. So it becomes difficult for us to say, Pwidikisheni theater, because central government has not sorted out the contractual agreement between whatever contractor over periomulimo. So in short, we've done our part as a constituency. What we are waiting for now is for the contracts to the changes in pricing, kuchinja kwa mitengo between the contract that was signed many years ago and the current value. So my appeal, and this has been my conversation in Parliament to the Minister of Health, kutila ngamwa kwishisha chipatala chile itwa Ndeke Village Hospital chapwa monse muli omwashala theater, the small mortuary that we have twakula kwato obubwafe bwakutila abantu bale butukira kupatala Central Hospital abakundeke bakala butukira ku chipatala cheso. So in short, we've done our part as a constituency. My appeal to my colleagues at Provincial Admin, Ministry of Health, Kundola, oko twakwatama meeting na lisendapo na bakansela wandi twayayikala panshi n'ababuteko twatila twafwenko ne chichipatala pantu ine kubulolu pia rwandinga na tinde ya mpwilikishe chile chikulo mwalala ndo kutila contract ya buteko taile suminisha. So in short, we are waiting for government to resolve the contractual challenges of ukuchinja kwa mitengo.
Okay. What about the Mupe Skills Training Center? What is happening there?
I thought there is no ablution block and this is non-operational.
Yeah, so if you go to Ndeke Masuzio pale, my idea as member of parliament, I realized that elo tule tumaba na kubuch for skills training, elo tule tumaba na kunotech for skills training, elo tule tumaba na kulwansha trades to go and learn skills. Tule funyaba na mconstituents tule batwala kunchendesha lepa. So we sat with the community and we discussed. We said abana okuchila bale shupi kwa ali pila 20 kwacho kufuma kundeke from town they proceed to Buchi and back. They are getting on 4 buses in one day. It's expensive. So I proposed, I said, colleagues, since there's this genuine need for people to have a skills training center in our constituency, let's build one. So we allocated money under CDF, and when we approved that project, our understanding was that because CDF tayafula kupwisha mafia yonse, we said, can we finish constructing the skills training center, which has been built? The next challenge we had was equipment. What equipment are they going to use to learn the skills? So we allocated more money to complete the construction of the skills training center. So when the council says it can't function because of an ablution block, Masuzio skills training center is at the market. At the market there, with support from the European Union, many years ago, they built a huge ablution block. I'm sure if you go into the market, Kulubalilwa market, Kwaliba ablution block, Ikalamba, Yaba Nakashi, Neyaba Lumendo, a very big ablution block. So Awabalela Ndo Kutila skills training center can't function without an ablution block. Mwakube peshafe because there's actually at the market, there's a huge ablution block which can serve the purpose of a short-term solution. Ablution block Kulubalilwa Skills Training Center. My appeal to Kitwe City Council, you are running Ndeke Masuzio market. You know there's a huge ablution block currently which is functioning for the trading facility. That can serve the intended purpose in Dakai to provide access to our students. We need to enroll students so that as we are looking at constructing another ablution block.
Okay, well, the UPNB, they are celebrating 4 years in office. It's opposite of you as PF. You are now in opposition. How effective, have you been, in holding government accountable, and what are some of the challenges you have faced?
Well, I'll first of all speak in my individual capacity as a member of parliament. Then I'll come to the issue you've raised, and I'll try and be very, very quick. Number one, members of parliament perform 3 functions. Member of parliament, number one is to approve the national budget. Pantukwa national budget. About supporting agriculture sector can't happen. The issues to do with supporting the tourism sector, the northern circuit, will not happen. So have we performed our role in approving the national budget? At an individual level, we've been very categorical on the priority areas in the national budget. Row number 1. Row number 2 is to make laws. There was a law which was brought to parliament, ile cyber security bill and the cyber crimes bill. Ayamafunde yabidi ayalelekesha pansambu shabantu na bali abale chita wele mu social media na filefia pusana in the cyber space. I'm on record as Christopher Kang'ombe my other colleagues who are members of parliament from the opposition are on record saying section 20 of the cyber laws yalanda okutila ba akim na inenga tulela nshanya pa phone aba abuteko kuti bayafe ku Zamtel kuti bayafe ku Airtel kuti bayafe ku MTN nokuyalanda tibakangombe na ba akim batiten record bantu mukumona kwesu pali kofu balela nshanya fyala ona ule chalo. Now in the old law mwifunde lyakale you needed to first of all go to the Attorney General's office. If you are suspicious nga mushibe okutila abantu ababiri pale fye balela nde fyala leto ubusanso na ngule fyala leta amasanso mchalo. The requirement mwifunde lyakale lyali lyakutila you first start with Attorney General, then you go and get a court order. Okay? That is what was in the old law. But mwifunde liletele kwa abanensum chitela ndokutila chikulu fyo wabuteko law enforcement officer if is suspicious ukutila bakangombe pale fye balela ndana pale fye balechita. They are empowered under the new law to just simply instruct a communication company to say, we want to know what these two people are discussing. So did we challenge that in parliament? I'm on record. That is why the first versa withdraw before it was enacted. You do recall that the cyber crimes bill and the cyber security bill was withdrawn because to amwene fokutila chidachala pokensam kubantukula kwata privacy. Okay? That is one of the roles of members of parliament. Have we also challenged government, for instance, on NIMA? Inenga member of parliament nga wacho luchelo ndapokelela ama message ko constituency bakangombe natukwato mulwele panga ndatakwetu omuti tuleka bilo omuti. Then I asked myself in parliament mwe babuteko section 16 in the National Health Insurance Act ifunde lilekesha pali NIMA yala ndokutila fweba lekwanisho okufola ko ama salary mushanji tosho tuwomba. We need to pay for those who are vulnerable and poor. I asked government in parliament in June 2023, why haven't we implemented ilifundeli lelando kutila ababalanda batetu bakwanisha omuti tuleba lipilila kofweba lebomba ifwe fundeli yalanda. Let us let debate by Akim. My colleagues from the ruling party batalikawe bakangombe fumulela netetu fichitike. But then ba minister of health yanshita basalando kutila awe ifilelanda bakangombe muchine chakwale safia ba muifunde. So on the floor of parliament, Parliament agreed. We held them accountable. Tualibebo kutila isenitu fikilishe chala ndo mwifundi okutila. Ababala ndebo tukwete nga nimuno mukitwe na tukwata abantu mukapoto abatabale kwani shopia kufupatala. NIMA National Health Insurance says those who are formally employed, whatever we pay nga tuleli pila kalwa tuputu ilako chila mweshi, it should also support those who are poor and vulnerable. The law passed because and as I speak today, government has implemented what I proposed in parliament. If you are a poor person, if you are a vulnerable person, the law says that mutukileni ku office dia NIMA muyele mbesha pantu mu parliament yulumlandu twalipwisha pamulandu wa migodi twalilandapo. So in short, have we been effective? I think we've done our part, except that you may recall that initially we had our own leader of opposition, because a leader of opposition comes from the opposition political party. So tatwaemuli ifyokulanda in detail, but those are some of the challenges we've had where the challenges in one political party, parliament ignores how to appoint one or two individuals. You remember who parliament bali intamfia, I was among the 10 members of parliament that were actually parliament. And the reason why I was chased from parliament is because I challenged the speaker. I said, Mama, speaker, tenshila tusalida mo leader of opposition imwa pingula. If we engage panichi the opposition, okay, we have our own culture of how we pick leader of opposition. Mukulu aba MP in parliament. So we were expelled, the 10 of us. To court, we appealed to court, we applied for judicial review in the High Court. Now to somebody that terms at judicial review. For to issue you could tell MP kula kusave episodes some level mana cancel to assembly like judicial review application for leave to continue. Not somebody left here court na lawyer we not to assembly. So we were expelled. We went to the High Court. The High Court said no, Speaker of the National Assembly, this is not how you chase members of parliament. MPs are elected by people, and that is how we were returned to parliament. Na panondela ndaba hakimu wesu on a lighter note, the National Assembly na parliament bali tukwachila nendalama esho twaona wile mkulipila ba lawyer pantu. The court said tefyo batamfya MP in parliament. So are we on record? Is Christopher Kang'ombe on record as having performed the role of an opposition member of parliament in parliament? Parliament kuya mkulanda. Neritwalize lapa 12th of September. I want to assure the people of Kitwe, the people from the Copper Belt, okutila na mkwata abalumendo n'abakashana abakutile nshitanga mwabapera mu parliament ya kulanda. I think consistently, at least for me, I am on record that whenever there are issues that are affecting our people, we've raised these fundamental issues in parliament.
Okay. Now let's look at from your perspective, the performance of the current government. I'll start with the mining sector. From your view, how have they performed in line with that?
I'll single out 2 or 3 mining companies as examples. Okay, I'll start with Konkola Copper Mines, which is KCM. You are aware, Akim, and I'm sure abale kutika kumula basabale bukshokutila abanensu abale teke chalo before they assumed office in 2021. They were concerned just like us. Once to alifia basakamana ba opposition ba ruling party kutila ka company akale itwa Vedanta akalolekesha pali KCM takakweti olupiyo lwa kurunning emigodi. Okay, mwaya kubulaya mwamfati ba Vedanta bali Kongole ndalama mwaya ku India mwamfu kutila abantu babane Kongole. So there was a huge complaint from everyone, including abale teke chalo nisho abako opposition kutila awe ba Vedanta imisungile ya mugodi ta ilondolweke. The way they are looking after Konkola mine in Chilabombwe, the way they are looking after mine yapa Chingola Nchanga, the refinery here in Kitwe and Nampundwe, it's not to the expected level of an investor. So everyone agreed that Tabanen State they can't run the mine. Now, after elections, of course, Vedanta was allowed because the matters were in court. They negotiated and brought back Vedanta. As Member of Parliament, I argued before Parliament. I said, Minister of Mines, ababa Vedanta mulefo kubwesha. Nganibale beni yabaile. Nganibale beni those who came in 2004 and ran these mines for 17 years and didn't do a good job. Then we are going to have problems even when they return. And this is what has happened, Akim. We have challenges in the manner in which our contractors are being looked after because the Vedanta has decided to begin a process of outsourcing certain departments. Outsourcing chile piliblo kutila abe neba KCM bafumamo muku running department bafwaya company kambie ekalolekesha pali concentrator, for instance, ekalolekesha pali laboratory services. The level of support to our local suppliers, chemicals to PPE, they've not been adequate. So first challenge that we've had with the mining sector is that the people who should be able to invest enough resources in the different departments of mining have not done a good job. So my appeal to government on KCM is that you made a decision to bring them back. Ask them to inject the resources that we need in that mine. Otherwise, in the current state, I don't think we're doing very well. If you look at Alwansha Copper Mines, there are 3 companies that have again been subcontracted. Ilinatandele kulwansha ba Akim, I found that kuyilishanya kubena migodi kutila. Elo tuwale bomba ku Lwansha Copper Mines as a company. Salary scale malipilo yali hapa. Nomba ili tu batutwele kuliba subcontractor. Amalipilo ya mulika kwati yapu sanako. Elo bale tuwebo kutila bata bale fuaye nchitobe bomba. Now that creates a problem because our workers are vulnerable. People want employment. So my second challenge in the mining sector, and this is an appeal to central government, take keen interest in the issues that people are complaining about. Yes, we need investment in the sector because these are huge millions of dollars. But as we give investors the opportunity to run these mining companies, can we also look at the aspect of how do we ensure that contractors are paid on time? But Akim, people here in Kitwe have lost property. Umulandu wa kuchirwa kulipila ba supply. Supply aya Kongola ya indalama ku bank. Aya Kongola ku microfinance indalama. Inshita yaku fole indalama pantu na supply FP pan Kongole. Ba mine ba firo kumulipila, ba mopani ba chero kumulipila, ba KCM ba chero kumulipila, ba NFCA bachelwa kumulipila balwansha mine bachelwa kumulipila ifyala chitika fyakutila kuli akongole ndalama nabena balando kutila mwatile mukatupela in 30 days. So people have lost property. So my appeal to government is that these are things they should address. If these are addressed, well, Akim, there will be no one complaining in the mining sector. Lastly, you are aware that there's been discovery of a lot of minerals. Kumpika kuli gold, kumumbwa kuli gold, kumufumbwe kuli gold. Bamisepela shesu bale foku ibimba mfia gold. I expected government to be 10 steps ahead of bali abali mukubutukira pampanga bambo kwimba, because bali abantu echo bale fwaya ishira yakwikalira mu bwikashi. So has government been ahead of the people in terms of preventing illegal mining? I think kwali kushalira, and this is one of the things I've been raising in parliament. My point in parliament has been, can we employ more mining engineers? Can we employ more safety officers? We go and prepare groupings to atuma kwa bonfi babuteko kumufumbwe to ayabalembesha ma cooperative. And I'm happy that last week the Minister of Mines did announce that 90 cooperatives have been given licenses in Mufumbwe. But I have a question for Akim. What is the extent of Mufumbwe mine? Abona inte cooperatives over pele. Bushibaba pele yonse mine na ngobele basuli na kofe mukona. Pantu mwamone fichitika limonga tapali sana transparency. You end up putting 90 cooperatives in one corner. Ero yonse inche nde ya Mufumbwe mine kukuli mukubo usu mokuli amabwaya su mokuli diyo. You find that they end up giving the bigger portion to a foreign investor. My appeal to the Minister of Mines, as we reopen on the 12th of September, as you come to brief us on what government has done on Mufumbwe, we want to hear, are the 90 cooperatives sitting on the entire Mufumbwe mine? Or tuile bula ba misepela to aya batitikisha mukona, because what will happen, Akim, before you come in, is that we will have balaba misepelo kupuisha kalaka chende baba pele bakeso okwinyo kunga babika ko invest. So can we resolve the problem once and for all? If Mufumbwe is 1,000 hectares, chonse chachi 1,000 hectares, isentu pele ba misepela pantu god yena tatu asumini sheba mwiso kwisaimba god yali yankaba ba Akimwe. So in short, there are a few good things that have happened in the mining sector, but we're still very far to get Zambians involved, because inyokulila kwandi na chintu chimocho na chitafu andandelelo pamulabasa chakutila. Can we involve Zambians in the value chain? Mukuimba, mukusupplier, na mukushitisha kwa amabo.
Okay, government is talking about that. This is just reminding me of the local content. I know, yeah. Maybe what's your comment on that? What's delay in coming up with the, the bill, turning into a law?
Okay, so local content, Akim, simply means recognizing that there are local participants in the economy. Okay, so local content has been my argument again in nature that the parliament ya inoshitana idea yakale opusano bolipo MP ulela abantu bale shipati kampanda lilandilepo. So me, I'm on record. Christopher Kang'ombe is on record in 2024 asking about the same question, asking government, we have a law called the Mines and Minerals Development Act. Mulefo kuputule lifunde pakati nomba shilebelenga mumulelandwa pali local content, and that's how government withdrew that bill. Bafunye balando kutila bakangombe ba immediate shiri sana important local content taile sango mwifunde lya migodi. So when government brought back the bill to parliament, after they withdrew it, after they deferred it, there was a sentence on local content. Okay, so in the new law, just like in the old minings act, if mufunde lyakale lya mu 2015 nelifunde baleteleko monse local content sentence emoidi na mulembo ekisungu kyakutila local content shall be considered. Now here's a problem with local content. You can agree kunganda ya mafundi ati kwala ba local content. Now if you come to the mines, go to Mopani right now, works have been subcontracted to foreign companies. Then balama Zambian contractors abale foku ibimba muri mining, because mining yambila mukutobe liwe. But Akim, the local content cannot be just on paper. Local content should also be in reality. Muno mukito na tukwata ba supplier abali ready kuchita mining. Mining means you drill. Ida mule chita drill mwaingisha mwaka akapatelo mwachisa mwafunia mawe. There are Zambians that want to do the actual drilling. We don't want to just be supplying PPE ama overall. We don't want to just be supplying kampompo and calling it local content. Local content should mean where the actual nice invoices are. Kula kuma contract tukuli wali. Kulokuwa kutila contractor ngafola na mkito mwamune katiba contractor na wafola. So where is the problem with local content? The mining companies have been resisting. Abene ba migodi. Valela ndo kutila abena Zambia tabako ite capacity. Abena Zambia tetibach tefi. Abena chitefi nyaba banenso balefu makufiyalo kumbi. Now I'm asking myself ba Akim. I left CBU 2008. My first work experience was in Luansha Copper Mines. It was Zambians that were running Luansha Copper Mines. I joined Mopani Copper Mines in 2010. The people that were running section engineer, engineering superintendent, but contractor wale to Afoksta drilling pamugodi were Zambians. So how is it possible that today, 2025, 10, 15 years later, Akim, we are now being told that local content chalenga to chero kuichita implement? It's because if we think that the abilities of Zambians can only be at a smaller scale. I want to appeal to the minister. This thing called local content is a good thing. Parliament, we expect that you should also be taking the lead to ensure that if the capex contracts the $1 billion, at least 30% that should be for our local people. Na economy ya Kitwe, na economy ya Ndola, Luansha, people will see remarkable improvement. So where is the problem? The problem is that despite the law saying there shall be local content, there's been a delay now to agree with the mining companies on how do we implement our local content.
Okay. One of the issues, the other matter the country is facing is the issue of energy.
Yeah.
We have witnessed road shedding now, is it not 2 years now?
2 years now.
And then we also have unstable, pricing of fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe from your perspective, where is the problem? So I know we have the issue of climate change.
I'll start with Ilyash Diamofta, the petroleum subsector. Again in 2021, then we had the Minister of Energy, Engineer Kapala. Government announced that they had found a company that was going to clean up the Tazama pipeline. Kubale kutika kumulabasa, mulebukisho kutila Tazama pipeline used to transport crude oil. Crude oil chile pili kutila manenekela muaba diesel manenekela muaba fintu fya pusana. And then Indeni used to refine that crude oil. So government found a company. They said, no. As far as we are concerned, the Tazama pipeline should be used for transporting a refined product. Meaning, amafutanga yafika ku Tanzania will now be transporting petrol, the final finished product. I raised an issue in Parliament. I said, "Ba Minister walokesha pamafuta. Nishi mwapele la company kamo to clean up 1,700 kilometers because the Tazama pipeline wa Akim from Dar es Salaam into Ndola is 1,700 kilometers. It was going to be easy for us to divide that pipeline maybe into 10. 170 kilometers, Zambia, 170 kilometers. That was the starting point of this problem we are facing. So what happened? One company was given the contract. Company for the work they did. What did they end up doing? They allowed the company to transport pipe. Meaning a company ekale pompa mafuta kufuma ku Dar es Salaam. Now, when you have one company transporting a finished product, it means that so the first problem we had was that for the last three to 4 years, one company called Agrofuel was given a contract to transport the commodity. And because it was only one company, the price was high. Christopher Kang'ombe, again in Parliament, asked the minister, why are we allowing one company to transport the commodity? It had to take the IMF. America. Monday to Friday, only one company using the pipeline. Can you do what is called open access? Mailoba Total wa pompa kwa mafuta, Mailoba Lake Petroleum wa pompa kwa mafuta, so that tumoneko mkubusano wa mitengo. Hapa mwaisa mwona ba Akim, akamutengo kama mafuta kata kwa tika pona kufe, pa no fe, because ule pipe nomba bali wakani. pachiberushi nyabalewo bomfya pali chitatu nyabalewo bomfya. This is what we told government from the starting point. Number two, the actual price of fuel. Umupsano walipo myaka shakunu mokutulefuma neno nshita. Why has there been a jump? Because umutengo wa mafuta kale wali 17 kwacha ngamulebukisha prior to 2021. There was no duty kwabo musonko witwa duty, excise duty. Chose chintu chilefuma kuchalo kumbilira chilengera mu Zambia pabo musonko wabuteko witwa excise duty. Abaleteka ku myaka ya kunuma 2021. Before that there was no excise duty on fuel. Amafuta yali kweteko uli omusonko wafumisheko pakutila abantu bakwatako ishuko lya kushita amafuta pa mutengo unono. VAT chile chisungu chileitwa value added tax was also not applicable on fuel. So umutengo wali pali 17 kwacha because kwaliko tumotumo tumisonko otobuteko bwala ndili ati kuchilo kutitikisha abantu twalafunya kweshimisonko shibili pakutila we pass on the benefit to our people. In other words, fuel was subsidized prior to 2021. So people are buying fuel now. Diesel at 27 kwacha 28, petrol 24 25. Tekutila nishina opono mutengo. We still have impact of fuel on the economy. Waliaba yakuna konde mukungule FP. Waliaba yaku kukasumbalesa mukutwale FP. Because of the high cost of fuel, the price is slightly higher. So I hope that government will be able to deal with some of these issues that I've raised. The issue of electricity. Again, I asked the Minister of Energy, how much electricity are we exporting? Mufialo Mumbi. Amalaita ayo ture kwata eni aya chepele because there was a drought, we agree. Amen shiali chepa fi machine tafiale panga malaiti aya londoloka. Nomba ene ture panga malaiti. Ni mufialo nshitule shitisha malaiti. Ba minister babula ka pepala. Ba mboko bedenga Namibia kuleya so much megawatts. Inchende South Africa kuleya so much megawatts. We asked government, why are we exporting 600 megawatts of power? And because of my question in parliament, abantu basala pukabasanga okutila kashkulina malaita ale ya mufyalo fya pusana. As we stand now, they've reduced the amount of power that they are exporting, but they are still exporting power. So I've asked government, since amalaita ya moneka ya chepa, is it possible that big companies like Mopani can start producing part of the electricity which they need? Is it possible that First Quantum Minerals in Solwezi, that's a huge mining company, instead of them waiting for ZESCO to produce electricity, is it possible for First Quantum to produce their own electricity? And I took a proposal to Parliament. My proposal was that 50% of what is needed by Mopani should be provided by ZESCO, 50% should be provided by Mopani itself. How are they going to do it? Ngamwaya kundola tu alikuwa taka kampani akaleitwa Dangote Cement. But Dangote Cement, Dangote does not rely on ZESCO electricity. They produce what is called coal-fired electricity, meaning mwafunya coal kusina zongwe, mwavika muli fi machine fya running fya funya malaiti. Wa Dangote bala ipangila malaiti. No sonde yipusha. Epo ba Dangote bala ipangila malaiti. Ngaba Mopani nishite ba ipangila kufe just 50% of the electricity which they need. Why can't KCM produce the same technology? Nefia isefia ma solar na fimbi. Why can't they do that? So that yala malaita yale shala, yala ya chepele. Tuapela kwa aba nenso aba kweteko tuma factory mu industrial area. Ndola is an industrial area. Why can't we get that small ZESCO electricity into the residential area so that those that are running barber shops, those that are running salons can then be able to use that electricity? So in short, these are some of the proposals that I'm on record. In national temuna parliament ngefuna chilondolola. Ulelande fila shala on record. The records are there that Christopher Kang'ombe made this proposal. The proposal is that big, huge mining companies should produce 50% of their electricity, and the remaining half should be provided by ZESCO, so that ZESCO can support industry and those that need electricity.
Okay. Apart from the alternatives, you have talked about, government has also been talking about, having about 1,000 megawatts by December
of solar.
Solar. Do you think this is achievable? Looking at the months we are remaining.
Well, we have the Chisamba solar project, 100 megawatts. We have one or two smaller projects that are being implemented by the Copper Belt Energy. I don't think that by December we'll get into 1,000 megawatts, but next year it's practical. because solar ngana mkwata fe, especially kwa wale abantu abayishwoku bomba panchite if you have all the equipment in Zambia already, if you already have all the panels, if you have all the units that are needed, the batteries, the inverters that are already in Zambia, it's possible that by December we can actually achieve that. But because of logistical issues, those huge panels, Muzambia tatupangama solar panels, okay? Muzambia, we don't make lithium batteries, and that brings me to our area in Mapatizia, Southern Province. You know, there's a constituency in Zambia called Mapatizia, which is under Zimba district of Southern Province. It is one area in Zambia where lithium minerals are found. Lithium liwe ili become lithium battery. If you want to do a solar system, you need a battery, you need an inverter, and you need a solar panel. So atula ipangila ma lithium batteries, and I'm hearing that in Chiwombo, in the economic zone, there's a Chinese company that will be manufacturing lithium batteries. If we are able to manufacture our own lithium batteries, I would be seated here, Akim, saying by end of December, we should be able to get 1,000 megawatts of solar power units. At the moment, because most of these solar units, the panels, the inverters, the lithium batteries are being imported. Logistically, we only have 3-4 months. I don't know if we are going to manage to get into 1,000, but I think by next year, we should be able to have 1,000 megawatts of solar.
Okay.
But solar, Akim, a caution. Solar ni akasubala nkafuma yakwela pamu kwaisa ikumbili akava amaka ya solar futi ya chitashani yapona. So solar is okay as an option, but to run industry, machine ile ivila masaka, machine ile ipanga manufacture kupanga mabloko, so solar yapona yakwela. So my appeal, as we discuss, if you are solar, let's be mindful that solar is not stable electricity. Ngani 100 megawatts sulu chelo tayabe 100 megawatts ichungolo. It differs depending na ishta ya bushuku. So as we look at solar, let's also look at other more stable what is called firm power. Forever sambile fiama light ku university kwa befu balanda firm power. Ngani 100 megawatts mulu chelo kale waka suba ichili 100 megawatts. That is what industry needs.
Okay, but we need energy mix instead of just relying on hydro. Let's look at economic management.
Yeah.
How as a UPN we perform from your point of view?
Well, Nala Pele Chilangililo, how have our colleagues resolved all the challenges? I don't think they have resolved all the challenges. Again, you remember, Kubale Kutikan, Nabalaf Kwatapoishta Yakutuma. You remember that Chimwe Chilubo, Echwaban in Suba Mwene, Mubuteko Waleteka. Nipamula Ndua Kutila, Namuya China Mukongole Ndalama, Shakupangile Misebo, Abantu Shabakali Misebo. Namuya Kongole Ndalama, ya kukule fibansa fya bola, ya kule fipatala, wa PF mule Kongola sana. Kwa liko lideri ya shiri ya Kongola, yo Kongole shafula. So if tuwa mweni okutila, lidiaba ni nsubale isa, mukuteke chalo. Kwa wano lulumbi lwa debt restructuring. Takwa biyo kukongwela kwenda la manashimi. Okay, but you go to parliament, the last 3 years of our colleagues, 4 years, every year they bring what is called an annual borrowing plan. Annual borrowing plan muchibe mbatina lando kutila inshilana mapange ya kongwela molo pia. Annual borrowing plan, meaning chila mwaka, the laws of Zambia state that you can't borrow money without approval from parliament. Shuko tule kwata. So if na tuka na parliament, bale fo kongola mata wa kongole pantu bafure bafileta pabwelo. So what has happened is that over the last 4 years, our colleagues in government have borrowed. Lafile bale lando kutila mweba lipomwa kongola sana, and we recognize that there was genuine concern because the chalo chifure chile apantage that awe there must be a level up Congo. Our colleagues have done the same. They've done the last 4 years annual borrowing plan 2022, meaning inshila ya Congo la molupia, annual borrowing plan inshila ya Congo la molupia 2023, 2024 na pano tulelanda kuli annual borrowing plan ya 2025. Neliba minister bale isamo October to present his national budget. We still have an annual borrowing plan, which is amapange ya Congo la molupia. Now, is that a good thing? I think we are on record, and I want to be consistent. When you are borrowing for sectors that will support growth, because you can't grow the economy without infrastructure. We told our colleagues. So what we simply have to do now is to agree. As we borrow money, whether it's from the IMF, whether it's from the World Bank, whether it's from our cooperating partners, let us borrow for key sectors. Let us borrow to jumpstart the energy sector. Because if we get the energy sector right, Akim, we'll then be able to resolve some of these problems that are highlighted. So in terms of performance of the economy, on paper, abasambirira economics balayalanda okutila economic growth ilife bwino kwacha is performing kaya ekisungu tuleumfa. But then you ask yourself, what is the impact on our people? Because all we want is our Zambians to be able to afford commodities. What we want is when we produce enough maize, if tumfilio kutila kwala vokushitisha mataba 500,000 metric tons. Okay? Food Reserve Agency bala ndili kutila twalash to export 1 million tons. That was the initial figure. I asked in Parliament, Minister Mulolekesha pa Fyabulimi, why are we exporting 1 million tons of maize when we had this problem in 2022, 2023, where you rushed to export amataba before Tamulachita analyze how the rainfall pattern will be. So my proposal to government is that before we even export the 500 metric tons of maize, can we find out what is the projected rainfall pattern? Bushe ayama insaya leisa yala londoloka na mtayalondoloke, because we might end up exporting so much maize inshita yama insanga ya Afrika tuwasango kutila nature the way it is, we don't have adequate rainfall. So in terms of management of the economy, I don't think that we've gotten to a level where we are able to say the economy now is responding to the day-to-day challenges of our people. There's more work that needs to be done. We need to get Zambians to participate. Election day koma ila Hakim wesu chakutila. Titule lumbulati. Copper production na iya pamoja. Hii sector ile tawilo. But the question I'll ask myself is, what is the level of participation of Zambians in the value chain? Ukwamba mukuimba kwa migodi, mukukampula kwa mukubana, mukushitisha kwa mabwe. Because epo economy yala langilo kutila, mukitwa kwena muli activity. Na tuwamfati ba supplier kumaini bale fola panchite yalinga. Ba Hakim, then I'll be seated here saying, I think government has done well in terms of ensuring that our suppliers get paid on time. Because tuwalikwata wanensu ba supplier. Gawaisho kutia supplier na fola wala ya mtumina boy. Mwana na bulisha kwa kanjashima kwa lupia. Ala kwe bati, but boy, ba mani tatula chitufole. So if we get these things correctly, my appeal to government, I'm here to discuss key issues. If the mining sector is ticking, can we pay our contractors on time? Can we ensure that Zambians participate in the value chain? If we have 3.6 million tons of maize that has been produced, let us not rush to give what is called an export permit. Hakim amatabati ya fumemchalo cha Zambia. Ukwabulo uteko kupela what is called an export permit. Lekeni kupela yama export permit ya kutwala mataba panse until we are satisfied that we have enough maize for food security, we have enough maize for our millers, and then we have enough maize to actually capitalize on any export market.
All right. Dear friends of Radio Icengelo, if you want to participate, you can now call 0969-290821. That's the number we are using. We are privileged to have Christopher Kang'ombe, that is Post-Swiss Member of Parliament. So if you want to participate, you can call 0969-290821, and we are looking at how effective has the opposition been in holding the government accountable. That's the big question we are asking this morning. Good morning. M1.
Nkwaitwa abukafe bwino twamisengela bakomfu. Okay. M-Quad.
All right. I will allow you to respond to that.
Yeah, I'll be.
And then, I don't know why we seem like, always, starting. He's talking about agriculture. I remember during the time of Manawasa, there was the mention of winter maize. That story died.
Kulima mataba liyakuli mpepo. So the caller is on a lighter note. The caller is saying wale focus a member of parliament. Fionse fyali kwa tenshta. Na inapa ndeto ntoka nyapaku ya pachifulo chikulileko. Kateka alipota ke kalilile ba hakim. The current president will not be president of Zambia forever. Twalikwete bakaonda ba Mwanawasa. Rupia Banda, we've had almost 6 presidents. We have the 7th president. So obviously, in my view, if my colleague wants to come and assume office as member of parliament, the opportunity will be there. I think it will present itself. I'm sure he's aware that I've been slowly going up the ladder. Councillor, mayor, MP. So I'm sure by the month of December, tukesa londolola panopene pamula basana kumjupa pusana, whether I'll be contesting next year as president or 2031, we'll come to that later. So yeah, but he raises a very important issue. The issue he raises is, why is the focus on mining? Why can't we also focus on agriculture, tourism, and all these other key factors of the economy? The reason why the conversation is around mining, it's because nangfiri bale bene abalumendo bayireimba kwa kaliwe kamonangu tubiri. Baimbile kofyama bo mulungu mo nemikalire yabo yachinja. Mwaimba kofya kalibo mulungu fe umoba akim. Just 1 week, people have come back with vehicles. Bamuna bashitana mayanda. Just 1 week. So as we discuss agriculture, we are not saying agriculture is not key. Actually, if the caller has been paying attention to parliament, the conversation has been, why should government intend to abolish FISIP? Aba abutekwa abaleteke chalo mu 2022 balilandile mu national budget speech okutila balaleka FISIP chile pilibula okutila bali abaleka bilo okulima ifya pusana obuteko wafilisha kone mbuto wafilisha kona fertilizer. That was the decision made by government, the new government. It had to take the opposition. Fwebale minna kwa abantu ku opposition. We said, mweba buteko, FISIP A to payla 80% of our maize. If Zambia is producing 3.6 million tons of maize, 80%, which is 3 million by Akim, is coming from FISIP. So why should government abolish FISIP? So as a result of our argument, today FISIP has continued because government was pushed against the wall to say to apapata mwewa abuteko mwileko kwa filisha kwa bali small scale farmers. So to answer the question of the caller, the emphasis is on mining because mining can anchor support to the agriculture sector. Where do we get $500 million for FISIP if mining is not ticking? Where do we get money to do a road into Kasaba Bay, Northern Province, the Northern Circuit for tourism? If we don't have money from the mining sector. So we make no apology, the mining sector is what will anchor diversification. Good morning.
Hello?
Mukwaito ashibuka febwino ngai mu ashibuka shani. Twatotela.
just compliments, and of course I would hope Honorable Paguma is listening, or will pass on the message.
I'll pass on the message because the water problem is common in Kitwe. We have a similar problem. I think I already explained. Neliba Minister Baishile, I didn't have an opportunity to sit down with him, but Naliba Lombo Kutila, the Shonsenchen, the 5 constituencies, 28 wards, 33 wards, ukuli problem imo at the same scale. Kumbi bale kwata kutume shutule tona, kumbi takulifena ngutumo tule tona. So my hope is that areas that are that hardly get water should be supported first, and I hope that Liba Minister Babu Ekelemo, there will be more focus on can we make money available for areas like Luangwa, areas like Indeke, Mulenga, kulikuwa kutila amenshina ya shupi kwa kubantu abaleka la kulishi Icengelo.
Good morning.
Good morning. Bamwamba? Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kuya kunyanji.
You can respond
Yeah,
to that.
the road from
Generally, the roads in Ndeke, they are not good.
Yeah.
Like,
Ichabulanda.
Like,
Ichabulanda ba Akim. Ubuteko bule pange misebo 16 kilometers muno musumba wa kitu. Na mwana na bembaula mu Parklands mu mayadi na bembaula misebo na bembaula Choma Avenue balimba Chiwote Avenue balimbaula kalaka musebo ka pankana East Cemetery balimbaula elio bale bili kishaba butepo kutila na tufa ya contractor wa kupange misebo nali puishe ine kuli ba minister balekesha pa misebo national local government nishi mwashila poka mfinsa constituency pantu mu 2022 ewa imishwe ululumbi lwa misebo amashiwe yakutila mukitwe misebo na ibipa mu 2024 ne walandile pa misebo mu 2025 chila mwakanda ndafe pa misebo na menshi kuli bali lwa constituency nishi mwashila poka mfinsa constituency pantu kuno kubelele Icengelo ni kwacha constituency nimbona nabambo kuwami omusebo omo ule kuma Zambezi we. Okay? Basi just kokutila awe ukotuke sarolekesha po kuntanshi. Now, here is a caller. Abali tuma kumulaba sabala ndo kutila Kang'ombe. Ushoyi musebo wafuma pa Robert pia ku Ndeke village. Mulele chitaposhali. Ine umulimo wandinga member of parliament kulanda kulemba amakalata kuma offices yesu amakalata ngana timilange pano na nakano kutaipa bakalata na chino kuti limbi inji mefenchite protest mule bukisha 2 months ago na lile makalata kukapokola ukutila pali akapatulula pa mipelele ya misebo ninchitwala bulila 16 kilometers yonse ipuile kumayadi nga ifo kumyesu kumayandi kwa kutila abantu baleka bile misebo ninshubuteko tetu kwakanishe bantu nali meya wa musumba wa kitu ero nali meya wa musumba wa kitu twalomba kubuteko tupeni ko 56 kilometers ba Akim 56 kilometers to aliya kana kuka matipa babula ko ama kilometer kuchimwemwe babula ko chila constituency yali bula 11 kilometer 11 mukamfinsa 11 muchimwemwe 11 musakile. That's what we did. Ka 11 kali akale pone na muri constituency yonse efwe twa Kenya 56 divided by 5 simple. So ndey pusha akaka 16 kilometers baletele ababuteko muno musumba wa kitu nishitaba Kenya ifo bakamfinsa batupera ko 3 kilometers vakwacha vavapera ko 3 kilometers, vankana constituents vavapera ko 3 kilometers. Pakutila chila MP kubomba pamuna ama local residents ngava vachituma phone twachita kufotwinga kwanisha palwesu. So ini have done my part. I've protested. Valindesha vakapokolo kutila vakang'ombe nga mwaima mumusebo mwayamule ilishanya mwalale nga mushonse walaima tosho vanja swike vakapokola na mkwata influence. So in short, I've done my part in terms of lobbying that government tars our roads. If at a local level nifile fine twachitile kutemweni mwabula grade ya constituency mwafukumuna mweloba mwayalinganya eloba nombo bwafya bweloba amayinsanga yaisa futi eloba lileya. Okay, so these short-term solutions will not provide a long-term solution. Aba abuteko bafule batu butukila echo ndelo makuli ba minister basiyalo balolekesha pa local government muipatulula pantu bakang'ombe bali ku opposition akanye ni fetch la constituency mwaikala abantu baleka bilo buyantanshi tuyishimtilisha fe kukwacha constituency pantu kuli ba member of parliament bali muchilonga ino chireteka isenife tuwakanye fe konse kubili pakutila ubuyantanshi boneni ba akimweso ngamulea mukutamba bola kuwatha Davis Stadium. There's a bad road there. I appealed to the minister vakateka vakesa kuwatha Davis Stadium mukabaleta kuli nenche ndekwe temisebwe hivi. Can we distribute development equally?
There was, anyway, this is, I just said someone was saying, maybe you can clarify this. Someone was saying, Barista, Kang'ombe, Bali, we should this valid go from Sakiri roundabout to up to MN. We're going to Power Stadium. It's part of the.
So, if you're for Banja, Swiki Okutila, Bakang'ombe, Tuam for my Ilishanya, Tuala Misulina ko, Leken to Bombe, number 3 months has gone. Epona Lombe, Yokutila, and Evansulineko. So we are waiting for that commitment which was made. The commitment that was made was that okay, there's no need for you to protest. So okay, so salapuka footing and ayale mbaka lata ukapokola na ayala ndo kutila na alai mapasweka. That's when they want to respond. So we are waiting. For us, we'll be excited if we receive those roads.
All right. Good morning. Hello.
Inenjua mtende. Douglas Kundola.
Okay, but Douglas, sorry. I think this is due to network. Okay, just ask a question. Network ile kasota tule ufamulo. Maybe just ask a straightforward question to around.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
It's a very clear question. Yeah, vachip shokutila ngaya mashiwe tumfule ya kutila na imakunta nshimule kabila ukwimina pachifulo chavo kateka bushema pangenshi mwinga tukwatila for those who are persons living with disabilities. I think first of all the starting point is that in a pachifulo chavo member of parliament, when I was identifying abantu abakubombana bena mu CDF committee, okay, I reached out to Akabungu Akalolekesha Pama persons living with disabilities. There's a Power Fiashibes, a retired teacher, Mayoba Banasakala Bekala Kamfinsa, okay, who is differently abled. Nangula Baba Mukabungu Kaba disabled. Ndakai Eva chairperson of CDF committee. Kamfinsa constituency is the only constituency which is being laid under the CDF committee by a person living with disability. The reason is very simple. Takwabo okupatulula development takwabo okupatulula twalabula bakampanda tubuli abatali tubuli abepi. Can we pick people from this particular grouping? Our role as leaders is to make sure that those that are vulnerable, those that are exposed to more challenges, are also brought to the table. So I've already shown indication that for me, any grouping of people that needs to work with the leadership that we have should work with us. So we are already 10 steps ahead. So what are the plans? I think the starting point is that empowerment yakwafirisha abantu besu abali less privileged, whether you are disabled or you are not, should be targeted. You know, you can't have empowerment which is open, which is general. We need targeted empowerment. And I'm sure kuba chituma kundola, I wish I had the phone number so that I can discuss with you in detail, because pano pamulabasa, I only have 1-2 minutes to respond. The point I'm making is that Christopher Kang'ombe is leading a constituency that has a CDF chairperson who's actually coming from akabungwe kaba persons living with disability. Akopene pa kwambile Eliash.
All right. Good morning. Yeah, I'm quiet.
Mkwaitwa ashubuka fyaba mtende. Thank you very much.
Oh, Bashbua. Okay. Luangwa is it in your constituency?
Yeah, but abantu baratoloka bafuma kwa mulenga baya kulwango bafuma kulwango baisa na bamwe bekala kulwango bavotela kundeke abekala kundeke bavotela kulwango kai musumba umo empire. I think his message was very short. His message was continue the advocacy, continue the lobbying, and I think that we'll continue doing that because mulimo omwatupela kunganda ya mafundi.
All right. Good morning. Enquire. I'm kafe wino katishini.
Mkwaitwa ashubuka fyaba mtende. Mkwai. Mkwai. Twatasha. Mkwai. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Vash Precious.
Tinaska mukwangu fyanya. Vash Precious balelando kutila Parliament Radio tayale umfwika bali ndombele no fshama shui na alifsha ku Parliament kuba clerk of the National Assembly, and as I speak now people are able to get Parliament debates on radio. So he was just commending me, but also he was asking about how soon do we get electricity beans to be supplied to various places across Zambia so that people can support their businesses, those that are doing running butcheries, those that are running salons. I think it was just emphasis on what I said earlier. And if you remember, Vash Precious, my message to government was in form of a proposal. My proposal was that if mining companies have the capacity to to set up equipment that can produce electricity. We should then reduce how much electricity we are taking into the mining companies from ZESCO, so that extra electricity can go into our residential areas, because butcheries are in residential areas, saloons are in residential areas, barber shops are in residential areas. So that proposal, government agreed. They simply said, that go and produce your own electricity. But have a capacity. But my point should have been, can we come up with a regulation, a policy? If if First Quantum needs 400 megawatts, let ZESCO give them 200. Let First Quantum produce their own 200, and the technology is there. Thermal power is there in Ndola. Dangote is producing their own electricity. They don't rely on ZESCO for electricity. So, Bash Precious, your proposal, it's on record, coming from Christopher Kang'ombe. Apanomba chali bashali la wabuteko to implement. If sumantule bula tuilaloleke shapachipani yako muntu alefuma, because at the end of the day, Akim, we have a country to develop. Politics should help develop our country.
All right, good morning. Hello? Okay, we have been put on there. You can still call back on 0969290821. That's the number we are using. 0969290821.
And I have Christopher Kang'ombe, Kampisa, Member of Parliament.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. The main road. Okay. Mm-hmm.
All right. You can respond to that, and also the area that joins Ndola Central constituency, that far end over there.
Kuchipolopolo.
I don't know.
Kuchipolopolo.
People are going to Ndola Central to. That's when they were even putting up the health post there.
Na campaign twalia cha ku Ndola Central kusasa ngati tuli mu Ndola. Yeah, so there's an area called Misaka A and Misaka B. So Misaka A eko twakula ne skulu under Kamfinsa Constituency Development Fund. Pabe skulu ile itwa Mwansa Primary. So the caller is asking where does Ndola end? So according to the old map, Kamfinsa stream kalaka mananga mlengira mukito lo mwakweleka pamolo, so kalaka stream akapita pale bana bridge kalieka a boundary between Ndola and Kitwe. Okay, but because the boundary looks like a stream, but we still have Kamfinsa Mission School under Kamfinsa constituency. Okay, but geographically that is in Ndola. Kulia Kumwansa Primary, geographically it's in Ndola. But by mpita bafume ku Ndola. Bese bapite pa prison, why mkulolekesha pa mafia ale kuma abantu kulia Kumwansa Primary. So we even built a school because we antashita kwa wokupatulula tatufule tulolesha pa menso twalando kutila bakampanda mutundu bakampanda bekala kwisa. What we should be asking ourselves is that these are citizens of Zambia and they need development. And I've told my colleague, the Member of Parliament for Ndola Central, Minister Batayali, na niwebo kutila Batayali kunontamu wakatalia mufika because kwalepa. So some of these responsibilities can be dealt with at a local level. So geographically, Mwansa Primary wala ndo kutila yaba kundola. Ilienchende ile itwa Chipolopolo, no musebo waya fumina na Kundola road Julia. That whole access road is in Ndola. But the point that the caller is making is that because we have farmers there who need to take their goods, Ishtayama in Sanga Africa, they need to bring back their produce. I think these are things that we must find a common solution with my colleague, the MP for Ndola Central.
All right. Good morning.
Mkwaitwa bomba febwino. Ningu fresh we bamwangerwa ni pa market muli emkwai bamwangerwa yapo na phone
Chairman,
eh
692908. That's the number we are using. Good morning.
Yeah, I'm quite much again.
vakafulana avukafe wa mtende
No. All right. I don't know if you...
Yeah, it's a quick comment. I think I've already dealt with the issue. The issue from the caller is that at what point does government decide to prioritize external beneficiaries, whether it's electricity, whether it's maize? I think according to the announcement by government, the 500,000 metric tons of maize is excess according to them. I don't agree because we don't know the rainfall pattern for this coming rain season. We know that people depend on a staple food called maize, which is obviously translates into shima. Stock feed and a few other things that are needed. So yes, there's the cabinet decision. But I think that before we get to that stage, can we first ensure that we have adequate maize for this farming season, but also to avoid the caller's concern. Kutantama kwa abantu mukupepeka ego meeting. Yo ego meeting ni kuisaidiri kuchambuli abantu babutaika. The whole day wawela kone sakalimo, you've lost your productive time. So I think the concern is genuine, and this is what I said much earlier.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. You are through to Radio Icengelo. Wabuka febona katushin.
Mkwaito abuka febwini. Mkwai. Mpanga ya mambo. Mpanga ya mambo kuchingola twatotera sana. Ndemona ichintu chimwe chobachita raise, which I think we didn't have time to deal with, is the issue of how do we buy imiti? We import medicines at huge cost, valued at 100 and 25 million kwacha, 129 million kwacha. We take our medicine into Zamsa to asunga ma warehouse kundeke abantu baleka bilemiti bale ntumina amafoni bakangome tatukweti omuti kubuchi bale irishanya kubuchi clinic takuli imiti chimwemwe clinic takuli imiti. Across Zambia there's a shortage of medicines. Meanwhile, imiti shaikala for a long period of time until the medicines expire. The caller is simply saying, how do we allow this to happen? And I think that limonga tulela ndapali fifintu ngefine bakola balondolola tekutila natupata omuntu oli wonse. Sometimes fweba lelo lekeshapa mitekele ya chalo tufile tuwaipusha. Why spend 129 million kwacha? That money could actually work on roads. That money can serve so much developmental needs of our people. Actually, no kuchepelo kwa mitiba akim. There are also those 21 containers aya ikala kulusaka. I'm sure the caller must be aware. Kubale kutika, you are aware. We have those containers which we have failed to clear. Ya ikala nemiti over 1 year. Okay, government has not paid for those containers. Kubale abaletere ele ama containers. Shiremiti shala onaika. So responsibility is needed from our colleagues in government.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Christopher Kang'ombe. But before we go, I want you to answer these 2 questions. Yeah. One, how would you rate the current, government in terms of points? And I want you to do that objectively. And will the PF, navigate its leadership, challenges after the passing of this year?
Well, abalenso baleteke chalo ni below average. That's how I rate them. If below average means if it's out of 10, average is 5. So palife parapen 4.5 palia. Probably because there are things that still need to be resolved. Our role is to remind them. You gave me 1 hour 30 minutes. I did not come here to discuss individuals. I came here to discuss proposals. If government can deal with those proposals, and that is how we are going to develop our country. Where we think that our colleagues are behind, we have to remind them. Can you help us finish in Ndeke Village Hospital? Can you ensure that before you export the maize, ensure that we have enough food stocks? Before you talk about the shortage of medicines, can you ensure that we resolve the issue? So below average. The issue of the challenges of the party. So, court, why people rush to the judiciary? High Court, Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, Constitutional Court. It's because that is where justice should be dispensed. Okay? Ngatualusa confidence muli judiciary, abantu bakalaya kwisa. Okay? Because you have the executive arm of government, you have the legislative arm of government, which is the members of parliament. Then you have the judiciary. Akim judiciary ko tubutukira. So aya mafia yali much longer cha patriotic front yali mu court. Umulumendo uleitwa Mauzi Sampa ali alondolola ku court. Alando kutila awo kwene nshila bansalile monga kateka wachipani. Tefyo basala kateka. That information is now in public domain. Because ero tuwala njile mu 2023, why I was chased from parliament as Christopher was because of this same issue. I complained. I said, this is not how you elect a party president. Party president wachipani. Takwa wako convention wakapokola na wachilaba le voter. Okay? That convention in 2023 had more police officers than the actual voters. Okay? So these issues have been in court for two years, going into the 3rd year. So will PF resolve its problems? The problems are in court. Let the courts determine those matters once and for all, so that next year people are given the option of choosing which political party should govern for the next 5 years.
Thank you very much, Honorable Christopher Kang'ombe. This has been Akim Mugala, and we are looking at issues of accountability and how effective are the opposition being in holding the government accountable. See you next time with another interesting discussion.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mauzi Sampa. Baba abantu buchalo. Yeah. Sapaliala ndakukota. Oh.